More anomalies across the Southern Ocean. Stratospheric warming event on Antarctica knocking record cold into Chile and Argentina, closing the border too cold. And at the same time, the winds have reversed easterly, westerly, off the charts on the measurements. There's a lot going on around Antarctica, a lot of stories coming out about salinity and ocean downwelling, upwelling. No, the entire ocean did not reverse as they try to make it out in some of these news articles. The easterlies and westerlies right along the equator, though, the wind speeds are going in the opposite direction that has pegged the chart. Not sure if it hit the all-time record high, but we're going to take a look at that, as well as the record temperatures. Ryan Maui, this is on July 4th, so I'm taking you back about, not even 2 weeks. Their weather models were going to show that possibly the world's coldest temperature record ever was going to be set. And this model forecast brought us out to 2 days ago, July 12th. So what are the results of their forecast pushing out? So here's the whiteout for you. You can see where that cold is supposed to form itself. Record cold that, if you look down there, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and then it goes even colder because it's literally at the maximum of the chart's range. Fast forward to July 11th, and you actually start to see right in the center that gray 100 degrees starting to form. And you can see at the top right, it'll show you the minimum and the maximum there of this temperature chart that you're seeing on. So the coldest temps were 102 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. And then as we come to that apex, it was around 109 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. But it was great that their models pulled that out so far down that nobody was expecting it to get this cold. And here you are, peninsula view. And if you look down at the bottom right, you're going to see the area of extreme cold there, 108 degrees below zero Fahrenheit. And what's interesting is preceding this, they also had another just incredible anomaly happen. So Argentina closes the border crossing as record-breaking Antarctic polar wave swoops across Chile. Coldest temperatures in history. June 30th going through July 2nd as they were finally tallying everything. The key border crossing between Chile and Argentina and the area around Angol seemed to actually have the coldest temperatures, pegging everything since records began 1941. So what does that really mean for the accumulation? Well, this is the area here, Antofagasta. And it's interesting how it's so far to at least from the bottom of the continent to the north and the west. You'd think it would be centered right down around where the Cape is, but Argentina closing the border. See, this is the area that's in. It's already mountainous. It already gets cool in the winter. So they've already had 70 plus years of records in this area, and it seemed to smash through all those. Central area of the country is surpassing all previous record measurements ever. So then we start to even look at the airports, which usually register a little bit hotter because of the runway placement of the thermometers, etc., but still getting this cool. And Retrio, there's also a name of the same exact city in Spain, so don't confuse the two. And everywhere you see here across the country, extreme. But the center area of the country seems to be more heavily cooled, shall we say, than what I thought would even be the most furthest south, closer to Antarctica. The science is in. A clinical trial found that just 10 grams of collagen a day for 8 weeks led to roughly a 20% increase in skin hydration and a 17% improvement in elasticity, while also visibly reducing wrinkle depth. If you want to help improve your skin health, it's clear that collagen is essential. This is why I use multi-collagen, which provides my skin with 5 types of premium collagen to help attack wrinkles from every angle. Plus, multi-collagen mixes smoothly with my morning coffee or tea, and there's no clumping and zero added flavor. Do yourself a big favor and grab yourself a bag of ageless multi-collagen now for 51% off only at healthwithadapt2030.com. Plus, by ordering today, you'll receive a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin. a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free shipping with your order. Once again, this offer is only available at healthwithadapt2030.com. And remember to click on that link in the description box below. This really says something that we closed borders here because it's too cold, that the wave came off of that same centered near coldest records in Antarctica. Wasn't the coldest ever recorded on the planet, but as we sift back through some records, anything above 90 degrees Fahrenheit below zero, especially when you get 95, 98, 100 degrees Fahrenheit below zero, you're pushing into the wow. That's borderline coldest that they can measure down there. And this went up to, again, 109 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. That displaced and came up, and that is the result there. It's starting to be to the point where it's unrecognizable. We're giving messaging one direction, but then we're seeing something literally on the ground here. Closing borders because it's too cold. Put that in perspective for just a second. And then at the same time this is occurring, we had a stratospheric warming event, a sudden stratospheric warming event. This is over Antarctica, but these things take, quite some weeks or even a month to play out by the time they come rolling around. Because you're talking about an entire hemisphere of the spin and the circulation. Once that cold air is displaced, it's not going to move 2 days later over an entire continent. It's moving from continent to continent. It takes a minute. So keep in mind, this is even before all of this record cold and before even the cold that closed the borders. This is the third event. So I'm going back in time to try to show you that something is significant is happening down here. It is wave after wave after wave. So let's jump back into the last week of June. And here we see blue is cooler temperatures. High pressure is the oranges and yellows. So the stratospheric warming event, that orange came over and knocked the blue out of the way, basically. So you have the high pressure that displaced the low pressure. And then where does that cold go? Well, it has nowhere to go because it's displaced by the high pressure. So it's going to move. And it moved. And as I say, this thing takes weeks to play out. So as we move from the 24th, we're well into a week later, and that's not even where the cold had rolled up then subsequently. So, looking at this here from July 10th, ish is that cold that we just looked at on the map that was 109 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. That's that same gray that's going to be moving over to South America again. Destination unknown, but it will end up there in the next, I'm going to say 7 days. Again, these takes a week to 2 weeks, depending on how they flow. And if you look at almost at the 6 o'clock position, we see New Zealand. Now, I'm going to be checking the temperature records here now because this has swept over New Zealand, and apparently the North Island was crystallized in terms of record cold, and you can see the coldest of the cold had whipped. And this is what we're looking at here as we come out through the 14th to the 20th, let's say, because this is going to continue to spin and be in motion. And what do you see? The coldest of the cold temperatures right over the North Island, New Zealand. You are in the eye of the cold storm. The day after tomorrow freeze is upon you. And it seems like this spinning perturbation is the best way to term it, is going to continue through the rest of the winter season down there. So remember, northern hemisphere up here, our summer is southern hemisphere winter. We are in the middle of July. It is the coldest of their winter. It is going to be cold for another month and a half or so, 2 months even of winter. And then we will transition into our autumn, and they will transition into spring in the southern hemisphere. So as this is all playing out, there's just going to be wave after wave after wave of this, which is incredibly strange to the point that people just don't want to talk about it. It's not going to be in the discussion because it's not supposed to be happening. Not supposed to be happening. And nor is this wind anomaly chart here. So if you would allow me to jump over to Grok, because the chart itself is complicated. It's talking about the QBO, different altitudes, ground level disturbances, wind patterns from easterlies and westerlies. So when you look on the chart here, that purple, it's not wind speed velocity decreases. It's about easterly or westerly winds in the positions they should be flowing and the baseline from that. And in the news, you might start to hear about something called the QBO. It's the quasi biennial oscillation. And it's what you see right there, the winds that are flowing around the equator at higher altitude. Now, these influence tropical cyclones, La Nina, El Nino, depending on how it blows. Now, looking back in the past, the highest observed differential in this was 29.5 meters per second. And as you can see, this 24 meters per second is completely off the chart. We don't know really how high it's gone or where it resides in the ether over there to the left in the dark purple. So what they say is with equatorial effects here, tropopause, once it gets down to ground level, and as it makes the way down, you're starting at 20 miles up. And by the time we get down to the ground level, these differences in the flow and the way they mix and the way intertropical convergence zone can push north or south. This is a huge difference in where that moisture boundary will lie and where those winds subsequently are flowing. But regions like Indonesia and Central Africa will have cooler daytime temperatures of up to 1 degree Celsius on the average based on what we're seeing right now. Again, areas that will be likely milder or warmer will be Indonesia or the Congo Basin. And then what they show is these specific regions, Indonesia, that's quite the large country, stretches tremendously. But the Congo Basin is where they're focusing on for this change. So again, if you start to look at Congo Basin, all right, so in that peripheral area, what's there? You got a lot of rubber, you got a lot of cocoa, different types of things. So you think about agriculture that could be disrupted in these very same areas. These are what the traders and the Chicago Board of Trade, what they're all focused on is this QBO and this wind reversal. You got a bunch of traders trying to figure out these charts because they know significant changes are coming to where this wind will affect on the ground. And since we're in South America, I thought I'd throw this here for you. 1980 on the left. This is gross domestic product per person. That's in a nation down there. The pinkish, reddish on the left and 2023 on the right. That gives us 43 years of time. You can see the incredible increases in prosperity for the continents. So where does that leave all of us? Is that inflation? Is that development? What is it that has brought such tremendously rapid rises in standard of living? And if that disappears, how quickly will we roll back down to that is the question. No food, no civilization. Oh, by the way, don't sit too close to the TV. It's going to ruin your eyes. That's in 1980, 40 years later. And as always, a moment of Zen talking about the oceans. Time to relax. Just enjoy life for what it is. There are things that are in your control, and there's other things that are not. You can't control everything. But you can control the food you grow. True Leaf Market, heirloom and organic seeds for any grow zone on the planet. That link's in the description box below. Every purchase you make helps keep this channel on air, bringing you more information just like this. I do appreciate you watching. I hope you got something out of the video. Please share with your friends, family. Hit the subscribe button, the like, do all that stuff for the algorithm. But the conversation needs to follow this. Why is this happening? And then what will the effects be? And how long is this wind anomaly that's affecting other things? You can see that. How much longer is this going to play out? Is it going to stop next year? Are we just at the beginning of a 50-year turn in wind circulation on the planet? I mean, really, where does this put our civilization? And then with all the other things we're seeing play out too, with the change of the economy, it's just all happening at the exact same time. And now there's very good data showing that if all the changes that were forced upon us in these last 5 years were in preparation for this event that's beginning now, then you could start to put those two together as two data points and see where that might mix and lead to in the future. So I'll see you next time. Please share the link. Bye for now.